It's day 15. It's 2019 8th annual U.S. Corn Belt Crop Tour. My name is Agostino, Chief Commodity Strategist with Farms.com Risk Management. We're here with Ken Ferrie from Crop Tech Consulting out of Heyworth, Illinois. Ken, thank you for spending some time with us here today.
You bet.
We've had a very challenging year in 2019. Illinois has struggled with too much moisture. What do you think? Is this last year's crop or is it something smaller?
This is definitely, from a state perspective or our state perspective, something smaller. Even our, some of our best looking corn really looks phenomenal if you forget that it's July 15th
Right.
type thing,
Right.
So we got a lot of corn that hasn't pollinated yet. We got a lot of corn that's got a long way to go to pollinate. So even though it looks good, we're behind the clock.
Right, and as I've been traveling along the roads, those end rows make the corn look good, but isn't that hiding a lot of the issues we had early on?
As I've been out in the fields, my earlier planted corn, the stuff that is pollinating right now, has some of my lowest ear count projections, and that was just due to the struggle that it went through.
Right.
By far our best stand counts and potentially our best ear counts are in this later planted corn, but we don't have it pollinated yet. So you got that dangerous window there that you're working with.
Right.
We're pollinating here in this stuff today. Pollination looks like it's going to go off without a hitch, but if you don't have the ears to back up what you're shooting for, then it can get a little bit frustrating from that.
Right. And I've also noticed that the beans are really short. A good chunk of them are like ankle high. Some are blooming, some aren't. Is that an issue?
It's going to be. The size of it is going to be a problem again because it's July, so they're not quite double crop beans for us, but they're going to be awful close to it. So the fact that these beans are kind of stalled out in that V3, V4 range, trying to get to the point where they can make their own nitrogen, and then they'll start to improve. They really won't jump till they get to the R2 stage, and then they take off. So again, they kind of got caught at a bad time. If they would have been planted earlier, they'd have been bigger, and as this, what we call the carbon penalty, kicks in from last year's corn stalks, they'd have kept right on moving.
Right.
But it's going to come back to challenge us in the end to get a big enough bean, get enough nodes to get the yield that we're looking for.
Obviously, we need a long finish to help both the corn and soybean crops, but a lot of farmers are complaining that all this moisture has created these short, shallow roots. Have you noticed that?
It's a situation where if the water table's high enough, the roots are not going to grow into the water table. A lot of times if there's a compaction layer there and we're holding water above it, it keeps it shallow.
Right.
I can tell last week driving through the countryside where we don't have compaction issues and stuff, that corn is pretty durable, and it's taken the heat that we had this week.
Okay.
The fields that were worked wet, put in wet, layers underneath them, boy, they could really stand out from the road. They were having trouble.
Right.
They have shallow roots, not because it's raining every day. They have shallow roots because we had to work that field wet. We put a compaction layer in and we've got them caught.
Okay. But is that going to be a long-term issue or no? If it turns dry?
If it turns dry, it could, If it hot and dry would really dampen the fill in those fields.
Right.
Guys didn't have a lot of options. I mean, it was how do we get this field planted? But and some of those that didn't work it wet ended up planting it in June. So
Right. So if anybody wants to know more about Crop Tech Consulting, how can they get a hold of you?
Definitely come to the website at croptechconsulting.com. We're doing different events. Like this week, we'll be doing an event for our customers, and next week we'll be doing Corn College and Corn and Soybean College for Farm Journal. So they can catch that, and there they can post questions and things like that if they have.
Perfect. Thank you.
You bet.